I mean, the whole idea of this podcast was pretty much you two casted together, and it was such a fucking shit show that did not deserve to be on a Dota broadcast.
Wait, is the podcast on right
Are you
now?
are you recording
It's
already?
recording the entire time.
Oh, no, you better
Okay,
fucking
all right.
delete
Delete
this
the dude. Come on.
Dude.
Of course, the first part is going to get deleted.
Kidding. But,
Okay.
Okay.
But yes, I figure I was listening to that cast and I was like, this shit deserves to be on a podcast and not be constrained by the
my
fact
God.
that there's a Dota game going on.
Well, thank you for having us. Thank you so much, Cap.
Thanks to WePlay for not firing us
Immediately.
Oh my God. Oh.
All right, so my first question is, where the fuck did the goblin come from?
He was in the studio. We were sitting there and a fucking goblin ran by.
I start listening to the cast, and that's the first thing I hear is Jenkins going, "The goblin, it's back again." I'm like, what the fuck?
No. Okay, listen. So I was not the first person to see the goblin. I heard the noise. I didn't believe you. But then I saw the little feet and the toes and the nails. And I thought, oh my God, that's not BSJ without his shoes on. That's a real goblin.
It was real.
It was there.
That's why we talked about Cap, because it was real.
It's
I don't-
people think it's a joke, and it just goes to show how far from reality the internet is these days. Everything is bullshit. You fake news, fake Reddit, and you can't even tell what's real anymore.
These
So-
libs don't even believe in goblins
They
anymore.
don't.
So the goblin is the real shit. That's what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah, it's real.
But I don't know. I guess one of the things people are always like, Dota 2, tier 2 teams, tier 3 teams are worthless and boring.
Mm-hmm.
And no, they're not wrong. What I'm trying to say is that Dotas are elitists. We always want to see the best players doing the best things in the best games because we're Dota players. We are playing the best game. That's the whole point. We're tryhards.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that in the realm of tier 2 Dota, tier 3 Dota, where people aren't necessarily so excited about the games, maybe there is room for kind of brain dead goblin casts as a way to complement the gameplay, because
It was really
So
some
the
top
cast
tier.
is brain dead because the game is also brain dead?
No,
Is that what you're
not
saying?
at all, not at all. What I'm saying is that you got to be creative and unique to get people excited about not EG versus Secret, right?
Mm-hmm.
You need to find a way to say, oh, okay, this is a fun cast. I feel like I'm on a podcast, and also these teams are playing, and holy shit, this team's actually not that horrible.
Mm-hmm.
They're actually okay. And so kind of that's something that I try to do and that I want to do at events like WePlay. If anyone offers me a cast on an actual respectable game, I tell them they're making a big mistake and I cannot do it. I will not provide what you want. There is nothing going on here. But there's
I feel like
value.
I've heard you say that over and over again.
Oh.
Every single time Slacks you're gonna cast, you're like, "Don't do that!
Don't do
This is
it.
a mistake for you and me. My career.
When we're on team Voldemort versus Khan, I'm like, yeah, all right.
Don't say he killed 40 million people. Don't say Khan killed 40 million people.
No.
Within 10 seconds of starting, you're just talking about the murders and pillaging of Genghis Khan.
Oh, God. But Jenkins, I have to say, is a champion. Jenkins does everything that I try to do but can't. He's actually intelligent, analytical with the teams.
Come on.
But no, it's true. But you can have fun with it. Whereas I can never go to that level of intelligence where they're like, oh, my God, I actually know what this hero is trying to do this game. Like, I'm just too dumb. I mean,
He's also batshit insane.
Jenkins?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
He's got like less of a filter than you.
I know. He's
terrifying.
Great. But at the same time, that's great, too.
Sometimes it slips out, and that's a real problem these days.
What is it?
Just
Define.
it's something you just think of something in your head. You're like, that would be really funny, and then it's very offensive, and not actually that funny, or you're talking, or you're pretending there's like a goblin in the studio, and then somehow it goes very poorly, and chat is not into it, and then somehow it makes it into Forbes. I don't know how that happened. I linked that to my dad. I was like, dude, this is about somebody else, but this is my single greatest achievement in life. That goblin bit, I did the voice for that. I was the goblin.
Oh God.
You indirectly ended up in Forbes.
I did. Technically, I'm in Forbes because really, I feel like if you voice the goblin, you are the goblin.
Did you actually make goblin noises?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, they were horrifying. I believed it. At the end of this podcast, we're just gonna have a conversation as goblins.
Yeah.
Can the goblin join us for a second here on the podcast?
I was thinking This is such an annoying voice, but I was thinking of doing this for an entire D&D session as a goblin character. Like, hey guys, it's me. Don't put this on the internet.
Jesus.
Oh my dog.
Wait, so is that what the goblin sounded like, or is that a
no?
different voice?
I was imagining like the goblin came into the room, maybe grabbed something it wasn't supposed to, and was kind of scurrying off mischievously. So I went with the kind of like that sort of thing, with a little bit of like
the skittering creature.
And it's moving away from the from the audio source of the audio.
The Doppler effect, if you will.
The Doppler effect, right?
Goblin screeching.
These are all things you have to consider whenever you're inventing like these mythical characters.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we're at WePlay, okay? Because we're the best of the best. We think about the Doppler effect when we make our goblin noises.
I love how not into it people were.
Oh, that's why it was so funny. You and me would have stopped if they laughed, but the chat was just like, please stop, this is too much, and it just made us continue.
I feel like this was a cycle where like Jenkins tried something and went flat, and I know how much you really get off on like things that don't go well with the community. When you're met with the rejection, it just fuels you even more.
True. I love it.
So I feel like maybe the goblin wasn't really your thing, but then once you saw people weren't into it, you were like, yes, dude, more of this.
You're completely right.
And Fate did bring the goblin back. We were after, what was it, 2 games of doing goblin noises. We were like, all right, no more goblin. Reddit's complaining about the goblin. This is not going to get into Forbes. And then all of a sudden, the power goes out.
Oh my God, you're going to tell people this?
What are
you crazy?
It's not their fault. I'm not like calling out WePlay, but it's there's been power outages here in Kiev and internet outages, and there's a lot of people here, and I don't know. I'm not going to make excuses, but the power went out. We couldn't see the screen, and we're like, oh, holy shit, a goblin. And there it is. And all of a sudden, it actually had a purpose. Yeah. Nobody noticed.
Yeah. You know the worst thing you could ever find out about your career? That if you literally have a black screen for 2 minutes and 30 seconds and you are filling, no one notices. There's a difference in the cast. That's how fucking bad I am at casting. If you were in a cast and you didn't have screen for 2 minutes, there's no way people wouldn't know.
Well, no. I mean, I feel like you're looking at this as a bad thing, but you should be looking at the opposite end, that you did such a good job that you didn't create an interruption. You didn't make
that's not how I saw it.
The cast is so irrelevant.
But remember the screen went out at TI 8. Yeah. And then I just had to do an audio broadcast for people who couldn't see the screen. Right?
Oh.
And so it was just like, I just kind of had to fill that gap,
So did they notice?
So you saw the screen, but they didn't, the audience.
Yeah, I had a computer, so I could still see the game that was
see.
going on, so it's not exactly the same thing.
It's quite the opposite,
That's
actually.
the issue. Like, yeah, you've got a lot to work with there.
But I just mean the fact that you kept the broadcast going.
Like they
Instead of going like, oh, our TVs are off. Oh, no.
That's
God.
true. That's true.
That is
like
true.
that
We
definitely didn't do that.
Production. Oh.
we just went with
WePlay's ruining my life right now. Like, those would have been the worst things. You guys kept the show going.
Well, in a way.
In
Did the
your own
show
way.
ever start?
Going is a really strong word.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
But honestly, thinking about how can we create a tier 2 scene in Dota, I mean, bringing comedy and improv and stuff into it is kind of a way. And I mean, that's, I would say, the biggest negative of doing my work stuff is that when I go into a production, suddenly it becomes about me because I have a big personality, and I hate that because it should be about Dota, but I don't know what else to do because I'm just doing me stuff. So usually that's the biggest curse is like tier 1 Dota. I'm on a panel and then fucking, I don't know, I make some kind of noise and people laugh about it and I didn't even mean to do it. And then it's suddenly like not about the teams. But in tier 2, maybe that's a saving grace that could help them a lot. And that's good for amateur casters too. Like, you know, make it fun. Don't make it about that.
I agree. This is one of those like elitist like tier 2 player dumbass things that I did years ago when I was actually playing. But you know, tier 2 players in general, they're always like, oh, I don't watch any casts. Like casters just say bullshit. I used to have that opinion. I think a lot of, especially NA players do. But man, I would always watch like Sunsfan +1 or U +1 because or like Moonduck events. Even no matter what the teams are, because I didn't give a shit about the teams. It's just like, man, this is like some Tim and Eric, you know, it's like some The Office. So I was super excited when I saw that I was casting it. I was like, all right, dude, I get to do like the comedy thing. Like I've always wanted to do. Like, I suck at it, but it was
great.
It was fun. I was super excited to try it. And so
the fact that you have little filter puts you leaps and bounds ahead of most people.
You think so?
Yeah, absolutely.
Until you
When it comes
get
to
fired.
comedy, right?
I mean, you're in the footsteps of James, so you'll peak.
But while you're climbing, it's going to be a good time. The fall, not so much. But
yeah, but I don't know. I think that we really do have to put a focus on the tier 2 scene because even if tier 1 teams are so tier 1, it's fucking boring. I actually get bored watching Secret. I know who's gonna win. I know they're super good. I know they're gonna crush. Who fucking cares anymore? You know?
And they're not showing a whole lot of personality. They won't even turn on their webcams for the games.
I mean, their picks show personality. They have weird picks, which is interesting. But at the same time, it's like Secret are, you know, just plain slates that win everything. OG are the same way, but they're dicks, which is the weirdest dichotomy in Dota. Because it's like you have No Tail and Seb, many who think are like, oh my God, the flowers of the Dota community. But literally, if those two guys, if we didn't know who they would be the most vilified fucking team ever.
Seb was.
Yeah, well,
Seb was one of the most vilified people, and then he like kind of went away for a while, and then came back, and then all of a sudden, you know, he's held as God to everybody.
Right. I mean, they go in games, they fucking sprays loser on the ground. They're constantly spamming people. I mean, they're fucking balking, 5-man tipping one guy. I mean, the guys are goddamn monsters. They're bullies.
Yeah, cyberbullying.
It is literally cyberbullying. Switch it up. If Team Secret did the shit OG did in game, do you know how much shit Puppy would get? He'd be like, he's a fucking monster. But because it's OG, it's okay.
Yeah.
It does make it interesting, though, that they have that, like, that they're allowed to do that. You know what I mean? It's like people know that they have, like, a personality as it. Like that.
I mean, they showcase the most personality out of any of the tier 1 teams.
Like, I'm not saying it's, like, morally right or wrong. I just say it's like, interesting. I've actually really liked how most of the games have gone for Omega League. I feel like, what was it, NIP won yesterday and then Navi. I feel like that's really good for just good storylines. Like, I don't feel like there's any teams that are just completely boring. Usually it's like the lower end of like the tier 1 teams. The super tier 1 teams are interesting to watch. I feel like you just have to space it out. Like you have to have some funny stuff. You have to have some like stomps. You have to have some even games, some comebacks. I feel like we've had a lot of those though. Like it's been evenly spread. Do you disagree?
Well, I would just say that like most of the personality that we're infusing into those teams is based off of what they do inside the game.
Right.
Right. And then that's a problem that's why nobody cares about tier 2. Tier 3s, it's the exact same thing except for it's just shitty.
Right.
So therefore,
without
nobody
that
cares.
personality,
and nobody really cares about putting the personality to get fans in the first place because
That's true.
Everybody's very hardcore about like, you know, I'm just focused on the Dota. I'm gonna let my play do the talking, like those kind of typical.
Dota's a weird game like that because I almost feel like the community thinks that that's what they would prefer to focus on, but it's almost not right.
Yeah.
It's like we all have this elitist mentality because we all played the same game. But you know, if you were to have some very personality infused team come out, let's say, I think a lot of people would be really into it. And
well, It's actually a maturity thing, and it's the opposite of what you would think. Like, for people to be able to say, like, I like this, I think it's funny, I'm laughing at it, that's actually a mature outlook. It's a lot easier to say, oh, this is so fucking cringy, and I'm too cool for this, because people, like, it's a lot easier to do that in a public setting.
Yeah.
Than, like, say, like, oh, I actually enjoy this, and I think this is funny and stuff. But anyway, as you're saying about the gap, I feel like there is a huge gap, and I know that we're forbidden from saying some things, but especially guys like Grant filled such an incredible gap of like, yo, here's all the tier 2, tier 3 NA games. I'm going to cover them. I'm going to do it in an exciting way with my personality.
He cared about the players. He had the history of the players.
Right.
And his personality made people interested in those people.
In the worst games.
Yeah.
Pub games, for God's sakes.
My opinion on that, I had somebody, after the whole movement, I had somebody ask me, like, with, like, obviously Grant and these people being gone, like, do you think there's room for more tier 2, tier 1 talent or whatever? And, like, do you think there's a gap? And I don't remember who it was that asked. I guess it doesn't matter. But I said, I don't necessarily think that Grant filled a gap. I think that there's so many gaps out there in terms of stuff that people would like to see. And esports is just so new that it's really just about finding a niche.
Right.
It's like
he created an entertaining product for one region. One region that is only somewhat prevalent.
Exactly.
In the first place. Like, if somebody did that for China, as an example, like.
Well, B Cop's kind of doing that for China, and he's doing great now. Like, his stream's getting like 5,000-10,000 viewers depending on the game. A lot of it's like betting viewers, but there's an audience. Like, that's another audience. Like the bettors. Maybe there's people that would be interested in like something like more comedic. Maybe there's even people from outside of Dota that you could do something that's so good within Dota that people would watch it, Like, my dad's been watching Omega League and he's like, I have no idea what's going on, but I think it's so funny, like the way you guys are dressed up and like giving each other shit and like cracking jokes and stuff. Like, he likes it. It's like The Office to him.
Yeah.
So
Well, I think that people always underestimate how much of an effect they can have in the community too, just going out and doing things that they're passionate about. You don't have to be funny. If you want to be like the world's next Purge, you can go do it. Just boot up your stream and start doing it, but you have to still make that content. And there is a huge gap of, especially if with the new season that they proposed, but of course got canceled due to Corona. Maybe it'll be back, where they have this like thriving tier 2, tier 3 community. I mean, the time is ripe to get into this shit and figure out your own ways to make these games compelling. Because that's the thing that you have to swallow, is that the games are gonna suck. You have to be the focus. Like, the personality is the focus, which makes those entertaining. And that's a tough cookie to crumble.
This is the first time that I've ever told like the tier 3 casters, like, looking for advice on like what they should do next. My advice has always been move into a different game. If you want to do, like, if you want to be play-by-play, you just like doing commentary, move on to a different game. This is like the only time that I've been like, there's possibilities there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like,
because of the DPC.
Yeah, I mean, a combination of things. Obviously, with Toby being gone, there's like more space for somebody to come up in a tier 1 caster space, and that leaves a spot open in the tier 2. But also, in general, with the new DPC, that should be a lot of opportunity to grind and cast games that people watch, opportunities for you to develop a brand.
Yeah, I think so too. But we'll see. Corona really took a bite out of that momentum. I'm interested to see what happens with the DPC in general. Like,
I mean, we've just been in limbo for so long now.
It's been a long time.
I thought that like maybe Omega League would just be the last hurrah, and then like we'd finally get a DPC actually going, and there would be purpose to the games. But
I would love some purpose.
It's just been like, okay, I guess we're just doing online these events for ever.
Well, yeah. I think everybody has to go through that, though. But it's going to be weird, man. It's going to be weird having, like, stakes again, I think. Yeah. Like, people are so used to not. So.
You know what makes me feel better about it, though? Is just knowing that it's not just us. Obviously, with Corona, it's like everybody's kind of at a standstill. It's like the whole world is at a standstill. Like, my girlfriend got a job just before Corona, and then obviously no hours because there aren't hours.
Yeah.
And she's she was occasionally upset about it. And it's just like, you know what? How could you predict this? Like, how could you be upset about it? How could, like, if you can't afford to pay rent or whatever, it's like, this is a world-changing event.
Right.
It's not something you can just be like, oh, I feel like, such a loser. I can't get hours. Nobody can get hours. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Ellie was actually opening up her salon in February.
That's my girlfriend's name too.
Semi-permanent makeup, and she was opening the same week that they shut down Los Angeles, and then they reopened Los Angeles for a week, and she was in the process of opening up again, and then they closed again.
It's brutal, but it's like it's people make this argument all the time, but it's the whole idea that, like, I think it's brought people together in the sense that, like, everybody's kind of going through a similar struggle. Mm-hmm. It is definitely easier for people that can work remote. It's definitely easier, but they're still, they're still suffering. There's still the economy's what was suffering there for a while. It's better now. I was, when speaking of economy, I don't know if you guys want to go down this path, but I was thinking at the start of Corona, my brother, number one, he was giving me investment advice, okay? And he was into Bitcoin, and he was into weed stocks.
Hell yeah.
And now he's trying to do psychedelics and these just fucking crazy things. And so obviously not the greatest guy to take advice from. But when it was crashing, he's like, dude, you got to take it out. It's going to crash. It's going to go to zero. And I was thinking, like, with all the people that are coming home and working from home and using Zoom now and going to Netflix and going to Twitch instead of going out and watching, I don't know, regular sports or something like that. It's like money is just kind of being reallocated from, like, certain industries to other industries.
Yeah.
It's like it's kind of like it's almost like Corona didn't necessarily, like, crash things. It just kind of changed, if that makes sense.
You know what saved the world? Uber Eats. Honestly, literally. Back in the day when it was pandemic time, you're like, the grocery stores, what will we do? The restaurants, they're shutting down. That's the panic. But then you're like, I'll just order myself a sandwich, and then, oh, this is nice. Like, we're so digital now. It's okay. You can get stuff sent on Amazon. I actually think, don't quote me on this, I think Corona will actually increase the rate at which we will become more interconnected internet-wise than we would have. I think we jumped ahead. I think we went 10 years ahead. Because, in my opinion, schools won't exist in 20 years. Why go to school anymore except to learn actual things? But, like, general knowledge, you can look it up on Google. It's like carrying a calculator in your back pocket. Who fucking cares anymore? Why would you have to memorize the periodic table? It's
probably still important to have kids, like,
socialization.
But that's what I'm saying.
But but you're saying there's going to be a replacement for that. There's going to be something else that lets kids get socialized.
So you just go to school for recess?
Honestly,
gym?
Yeah, sure.
No, I think it would be more like college, right? Things will be, like, specialized. Like, I'm interested in this, and what we used to consider electives will become actual, like, schooling to be. What do you call those things? Specialty schools, like where you go for a mechanic?
Yeah, trade schools.
Trade schools. Yeah. I think most schooling will be trade schools because of shit like the internet. And as we've seen, like, Zoom calls and stuff, why waste your time with general shit?
Yeah, for the longest time, I felt like, every job that I've done, at least when it comes to, like, programming, is why the fuck am I at an office? Why am I here? It's like when I worked at an insurance company for a few years in web development, and we would literally do Google Meets calls in the office. We wouldn't go to a room and meet. we would literally all get on our webcams and do Google Meets calls, because sometimes there'd be a couple people working from home. Maybe somebody, like, our manager was in Ottawa, and he would travel and he would only come for, like, 2 days a week. And so we would do Google Meets calls, and it's like, why are we here? We don't even talk to each other. We just, like, go get coffee together. That's it. Like, 40 minutes a day. Max,
I don't think it was a costly experiment for people to run. Like, you've been running your company this way for 80 years. Are you actually going to say, like, okay, we're going to take 3 months and send everyone home and see if the fucking company is ruined or not? But with these experiments, Corona just lets you do that, which is the scariest thing I think that's ever happened to Dota, if we can bring it back. The compendium. I'm fucking terrified of the compendium. God. We are about to be a bigger prize pool in Dota 2's ever had, and there's no fucking event. You're sitting at Valve, a corporation, and you just found out that there's no need to spend money on a TI. They'll just give you the money. Hey, who fucking cares? All they want is the chest.
Yeah.
They need Treasure 3. That's all they fucking care about. I'm terrified that they will literally just say, oh, okay, well, esports is actually fucking stupid. How many people do you think buy the compendium because they want to support esports? Honestly.
I think very, very few.
Honestly, yes.
Very, very few. I think there's maybe a decently small percentage of people who buy into the compendium for the things surrounding esports. Mm-hmm. So like the trading cards, or like playing the fantasy games when TI is actually going on. Like maybe they don't buy it for that, but maybe they'll put in a bit more points for something like that, or it's a nice little side benefit. But I think very few people buy it just to support the international.
I don't think anybody is consciously supporting the international, but I genuinely believe that it's like a subconscious thing there. It's like, oh, it's TI season. Like the compendium's out because it's TI season.
Right.
And I think if that aura isn't in the air, and they do this for like 1 or 2 more years, and there isn't a TI, I think that it's only got 1 or 2 more years left.
I don't disagree with you. I feel like if they did it like a year-long compendium for esports, it wouldn't be very popular. But if they did just do the battle time, it's like battle time in August, and there's no event attached to it, I still think that would still get people hyped about just that current time. And that, to me, is such a scary prospect because like normal businesses, Valve couldn't have run that experiment. They couldn't have been like, what happens if we do the compendium without TI? Their fucking backlash would be insane. But this is like the perfect testing conditions for some shit like that. And nobody believes me. Nobody thinks that they can do it, but...
Yeah, I could see it. I feel like, though, like, again, that first season, it's if you don't tie it to TI, then people are just going to be asking, well, then why do you have to shut it down? Mm-hmm. Why I paid for this? Why can't I keep it for longer?
Sure.
So I feel like somehow the event actually does give an end to the battle pass.
That's a good point.
Which is important, right? Because you need it to be seasonal, because that's what
from a
draws all the
corporate
hype
from a corporate perspective too. I think that makes sense too, to end it so you can do another one and get more money.
Yeah,
right.
Like have an actual this is the end. This is the purpose for ending it. Otherwise, people will complain.
Yeah, it has to be limited, too, like a limited time offer kind of deal. But
it just as easily, like, TI could just as easily be, like, a Fortnite-type event. You know, like, those world events, whatever they do. Like, it could just as easily be that sort of thing and not necessarily an esport, right?
Yeah, that's true. Like, attach it to Dire Tide.
Yeah, make a new game mode, replace the international. Because I shudder to think how much Valve probably spends on the international, right? Mm-hmm. Hotels, and people think it can't be that bad. Imagine every team, that's 5, support staff, managers, all that stuff. Let's go on another 5. Family.
They do family too, yeah.
They do family for all players. So add on like 20. I mean, we're talking like 50 people now per team, plus lodging, food, accommodations, travel, and that's not even like staff, like hiring staff to put it up. That's not even the building cost. I would gather to say they'd spend, I mean, what, 10 mil or something?
So here's a question. Yeah. Do you think you can put a price on the press, the marketing that you get out of the international as a tool? Because then I think your idea becomes super scary when TI doesn't keep climbing. Mm-hmm.
Well, that's all we have, right?
Right? Yeah. And then once it finally does go back down, then that press is not nearly as exciting to people in the media. It doesn't make the same kind of reach. It stops making headlines. And then at that point in time, then well, this was one of the big things you got out of it was marketing, and now you're not even getting that much anymore.
Yeah, and I think that maybe that arrogance is what will keep it with us, right? That arrogance of saying, like, we are still the best esport, as you can see.
Because of all this money.
Yes. So, I mean, maybe that is a part of it. It feels good to be an industry leader, but I'm just saying, like, some of these things, I mean, I don't know. How is the next TI even going to work? If they postpone it till... like just straight up August, are they going to do another compendium? Or wait, will the compendium fund next year's TI? Will it be never ending? I mean, we skipped one.
Yeah.
How do you fix that?
Yeah, it is a weird. weird question. And like, what do you do with the DPC points too?
Yes, that people already earned.
That already teams have. Because aren't there a couple of teams that should already be qualified for a TI?
Yeah.
There was.
I think so.
There
Whoever
was
won the
3.
major was an insta qualification,
Yeah.
and now they don't get to go. And I think the team is different now.
Mhm.
So what do you do? Just ignore that? Just, oh, sorry. Good
Yeah,
try.
My theory is that there's no way you can run TI 10. I think you run TI 10 in place of the next international, but then that comes down to you have to combine the prize pools. And if you combine the prize pools, that means that you're guaranteeing that the
Yes,
following
it's
year
over.
can't
Right.
possibly make
Yeah,
the same
that's
amount of money.
that's a really
So,
good point.
I think Valve almost has to
All right, guys, I think
take this money or the money they raise from the next compendium and put it somewhere else, just to ensure that they will like continue to be breaking barriers because they just can't stop this momentum.
I
right?
see. Maybe invest in the DPC next.
Maybe,
Oh, don't laugh
like,
at
I
that.
feel like
Come
that's
on.
a little bit of a stretch.
Let's
but
invest
what
in
else
the
do
new
you-
player experience in Tier 2 teams.
No, I didn't say the new players.
I'm
Okay,
sure
that's
that's
too
coming,
far.
dude.
That's
Hell
too
yeah.
far. No, but I see your point, actually. That's seriously concerning.
I think it's a really, really bad
Situation.
that
'Cause
Valve is currently in because they built this sort of hype machine
Exactly.
that is now being broken.
That's my whole counter argument against what you're saying is that, like, I think the aura of TI being this big event makes more sales for the Battle Pass every year than you get from not having an event like that. But what happens if you have 46 million for one TI because it's really 2, and then the next year there's no fucking way.
No fucking
unless
way.
it's 3 years. Oh, man.
I mean, I think you just cap it, honestly. I mean, you just say 10 is the last true TI, and then you move on to, like, a different form of it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And
but-
so you just say all this money is being put into a pool that will fund
Like, the DPC
big-
season, like the
Yeah.
LCS of Dota, you know?
Mhm.
But then you lose that esteem, so I'm not sure. I don't know. But that's a question, thankfully, we don't have to answer. Good
True.
luck with that one.
I have no doubt that like in Valve, there's probably a bunch of people that have like different ideas on what the best play is, and like how do you possibly argue? Because I feel like these are some of those things that the numbers just aren't really there to support. You know, like again, like how do you put a dollar value on the press that you get from having the largest esports tournament?
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
It's like I think that's very hard to actually put a number on.
just an instinct thing. We just feel like it's probably very, very valuable, but nobody knows.
Yep. Well, the best idea would just be to steal it, honestly. I mean, that's what I would be proposing if I worked there. What the fuck?
Just
I would just do
take
the
it and
next
go?
compendium is like the TI-10 compendium, and you just pretend. And you're like, what money? What?
So you just well, I mean, you could do it in a more official capacity. Don't you just do what Blizzard did with StarCraft?
What's that?
They just put an arbitrary cap on it. They made a compendium, and then they said, yeah, it goes up to 2 million. And people are like, what happens when it goes over 2 million? Because it did almost immediately.
Yeah.
and they
Blizzard's just like,
they just took it.
the cap
what do
is
you
2
mean?
million.
We stopped taking money after 2 million. All the stuff gets refunded. Try it at home. They're coming. The refunds are coming. Keep buying things. That's fucking
Yeah, the
weird.
community went ape shit.
Of
were
course
just
they would
like,
ape
what
shit.
The fuck?
What do you mean? What do you mean only to get 2 million?
I feel like that's something that there could be like a class action lawsuit for.
Not really. I mean,
No, there could, dude.
raise this and I'll give it to them.
Did you see that there was some security leak for what is it? What was the social media company Google was trying to do? Google Plus.
Oh, yeah.
So there was
Yeah.
some password leak, and recently the class action lawsuit actually was successful, and so they're paying everybody that had a Google Plus account in America between, I don't know, 2016 and whenever the fuck it ended, like $15 each. Which when you factor in how
I think
many people,
I did get an email.
I got an email
no,
too.
that's real. That's real.
Wow.
I thought that was a phishing scam,
Yeah.
and I looked it up, and on the official Google help site, one Google guy was like, "Yeah, no, this is real." The site looks super fishy. The SSL certificate wasn't even working for the site. So it's like, this is not encrypted. This is a phishing site.
What a great fucking way to have to do your lawsuit. Just make it as fishy looking as possible so any person that's intelligent enough to use Google Plus will be like, whoa.
You know what?
I don't know about this. Then you don't have to pay back anything.
That's legitimately genius. I didn't think about that.
That was my next question. Is like, what happens because, like, the money that you don't pay out to the customers, like, what happens in that situation?
I was looking into it, and they agreed to some terms basically. And if you don't respond within like 30 days, it just goes nowhere. They just don't have to pay it.
Wow.
But
genius.
Everybody gets a proportional. There's some like Latin word that they used, but everybody gets a proportional amount with how many users there were and how much the lawsuit was for.
So it could be $15, but if a bunch of people don't take it, then maybe it's more.
No, it's always $15.
Oh.
That's what they agreed to. So you get a proportional amount, assuming literally everybody files this document that you have to send to Google, which is a lot of things to fill out. It requires
pay
like
out like $75, dude. That's like
they are.
Yeah, that's genius. Good on them.
Good on them.
Because it's kind of like, do you want to fill out a form for $15? It's kind of like,
no.
That's a bit of a. If you put your like your social security number, do you call it social insurance in America, or what is social security?
Mm-hmm.
Which
social
one?
Security.
Okay, social. They call it social insurance in Canada. Not that it's relevant, but you have to fill that out on there, and it's like, well, this already looks like a phishing scam. Right. I don't know if I want to put that out there for $15.
Yeah.
Dude, that's smart, actually. I never thought of that.
They're geniuses. Mine would be like, you'd have to, so please go to geocities.com /Google
dude,
refund.
the site is legitimately like Google-refund-lawsuit.com slash phishing. Like, I kid you not.
Literally the official looking part is the fact that you get an email from Google themselves.
No, it's email from that domain that doesn't, I guess now that I'm thinking about it, conveniently didn't have an SSL cert, so it was like warning, like your browser tells you like this is very sketchy, and then they're just like, oh, sorry guys, we forgot to put one on there. It's like, dude, you're Google. What do you mean you forgot?
But I think the email I got was from Google itself.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
pretty sure.
Still, it's easy to like spoof a domain on email. That's been a thing for. Usually it goes to spam, but sometimes, rarely, with good phishing emails, it'll get through. And that's when it's like, all right, why would Google have, like, you'd think it'd be google.com/lawsuit or something like that, not Google-lawsuit-phishing.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy. Who would click on that? Anybody could buy that fucking domain, dude. You could go buy that domain right now.
Yeah, when they're done with it, I'll buy it and then resend the email to my PayPal. Anyway.
Send it to SirActionSlacks at google-phishing.com.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, anyway.
But yeah, the future of Dota 2 is looking pretty interesting since we, as a community, have so much invested in a TI. It's like all we care about, so... Other esports don't really have to worry about that shit, you know? Except for selling their entire company to YouTube and then having 0 viewers. But stuff like that they have to worry about. But
do you think the DPC was a good idea? Do you think it's a good idea
to move
towards more like League of Legends type circuit?
Yeah, if they ever want to get out, if they ever want to, be free.
Don't you in some, like, you're getting free of the responsibility of TI, but don't you in some ways have to have a more active hand?
I mean,
because now you've got a circuit that's always running and
I
kind
think
of always
not really.
needs some
You just
oversight.
put the people in charge of the circuit. So if the winter TI or circuit is in charge of ESL, that's their circuit.
I was gonna say just outsource it.
Yeah.
Like, that sounds. I think what they were doing with the majors there for a while was not a bad idea. That seemed like it was pretty. I don't know why did they change that? Do you guys know why they?
I think it's because the main idea was probably what Valve always does is pure capitalism. We want to take like 5 different orgs, have them compete as hard as humanly possible to win these majors. And then when they win, we'll reward them with a major. Well, what happens when only one guy wins PGL? And then PGL's like, yo, I actually don't give a shit anymore about making these good. You know, not to say PGL events were bad. I'm just saying that it's always... that competition breeds innovation, and after 2 years, there's no more innovators.
I do remember people were complaining for a long time when that was a thing, that it left no room for the the off like the random events, you know, the like ESLLAs and stuff, like the ones that weren't
Sure.
the ones that weren't majors. There wasn't any space for them.
There was like this weird, like Frankfurt Major was okay. Shanghai was terrible. And then they made it all up.
That was my favorite major. I loved Shanghai.
I love Shanghai.
Dude, that was so good. That was from like a. Oh man, I loved watching Shanghai actually.
I have told many people that the greatest Dota experience was Shanghai because it really was NASCAR. People don't watch NASCAR to see cars; they watch it for the crash. Shanghai Major was NASCAR. If you knew at the end of every panel there would be a crash, and it was just when is it happening and what is it? I legitimately watched that entire event.
No, I'm not joking. I seriously love that too.
It was great.
I don't even mean that like offensively. Like I think it's. I remember at Midas mode, shit was breaking and all the time. You were very stressed about that.
Yes.
I loved it. I loved it. I did not having to like organize anything, but it's like, wait, that shouldn't be on the screen right now. That's like the interview with like the losers. Oh no!
When the teams were they were splitting money between the creeps. Killing a hero got you 10 gold in Midas mode game 1. And a bounty rune gave you 300 gold. Oh my god! That shit was so fucked. But anyway, this all comes around to yet again money, which brings us to the big topic. Of course, that big debate, the Gork kicked from OG, broadcasting rights. All that shit.
Oh, yeah,
Yes, you are fighting the good fight there, Slacks. I rarely see you really arguing on Reddit.
It's true.
And this was the one
I went
time that
in.
I see Slacks there
Really?
in the trenches arguing with people.
In the Gork thread, the
Yes.
big one.
Yeah, well, in the Pimp Munkle thread. I went in. I mean, it's a very hard position to take, I know. If you go to a movie theater and you record the movie and then you sell pirated DVDs, are you doing something wrong? A majority of Dota says no. They say that's great because if I didn't watch the DVD, I would have never watched the movie.
Yes, it's free advertising for the movie.
For the movie. Yes, that's
so now
what
you
we
know
need.
of it.
Yes, that movie I watched. I wouldn't have
know
watched it
that.
unless I pirated it. So they should be thanking me. Actually, no. That's good. But no, I mean...
Who knows? Maybe you'll buy the merchandise after pirating the movie.
Right. Okay, so real talk, I mean, it's this argument of the TOs don't have to pay to get into Dota. It's free. So they hold the responsibility of making money off of that, and they shouldn't need any help. And people don't want to be robbed of that free content.
Yeah.
And that's like the moral high ground that people have against it. And the reason that I usually don't give a shit about anything, but I give a shit about this because I fundamentally believe that is the only thing holding us back from being a good fucking esport, is because you need money to make things happen. Nobody sponsors Dota because it's a fucking joke. You want to know why every single sponsor for every tournament's a betting company? It's because it's the only people that can possibly make money.
Even better when Valve's like, no betting companies, please.
Right. They were like, no betting companies. And then you remember the DPC was like, hello? And then betting companies just came back. Remember that whole thing? We're done with betting companies. Bring us the sponsors such as... betting companies, we come on back, things are good. But I take a really hard stance on it because listen, I'm all for internet culture. I'm all for getting shit for free and doing whatever and like the best product wins and shit. But the scene will literally die if people cannot make money from it except for Valve. And I don't understand why people don't get that shit. Like they always quote, well, we have the biggest prize pool in whatever. Yeah. TI has no sponsors but Valve. They're the only people making money. And if you want the game to live when Valve doesn't give a fuck about you anymore, then you need a system to survive without them, which is coming.
That's coming.
Look
That's
at
coming
TF2.
real quick.
Look at TF2, boys. Crazier cosmetics every year. They love it. And then actually, Half-Life multiplayer Alex Deluxe seems pretty cool. You want to be like fucking TF2? No, you want to be like Counter-Strike, who did do that, who said, okay, we have all about support, but we're going to make our own tournaments with our own sponsors, find a way to monetize this. And now they had such a good scene. Valve abandoned them, and now they're fucking going back. That's what you have to do.
They come crawling back.
Yeah. CS is so interesting because it wasn't dead, but it was just like a B tier esport for a while. Like nobody was really watching it, and now it's like the king of shooters again. It's like what it's
Right.
it's always one of the biggest categories.
And it was
Twitch.
100% on the community. The community did everything. They went and they formed their own tournaments. They did all that shit. They made their own leagues, and they made it big enough. And Dota will not be the spotlight forever. And people are so fucking stupid. Sorry, stupid people, that you think trying to make sure that organizers make money is like a selfish and against the community. No, dumbass. It's the only hope that we have when our overlords abandon us. Those fucking idiots during the ESL Facebook thing. How could you go against Twitch? Please, I want that monopoly. I want to suck that dick. You're not helping, you idiot. Giving Twitch a full monopoly does not make the game better. Stupid. No. I know you hate Facebook. I fucking hate Facebook too. I didn't watch the event. Well, I worked the event.
I mean, honestly, I fucking hated that whole argument that was happening there because it was very hard to go against that. But man, fucking ESL really fucked us on that one, man.
What do you mean?
I mean, because if they just we could have they could have streamlined having competing platforms for Dota tournaments, but instead they delayed it. Who knows how many years?
They killed
because Facebook was such a shit show.
It was terrible.
That we've never had that sort of competing platform ever again.
No. Rest in
and
Pepperoni's mixer.
And that is like the best possible source of money that you can have right now.
That's the best possible. That is the actual hype. But the problem is also in the community that they just think that they deserve to see things that are exclusive because they exist. And it's such a weird concept to have. Like, if I have Mike Tyson and fucking Muhammad Ali go into my house and have a battle on top of my bed and I pay him $10 million, I made that fight happen. You don't get to see it unless I want you to see it, unless I sell you a ticket. Gork doesn't get to fucking go in my vent and look at them fighting and be like, guys, this is what they're doing right now. And oh, hooray, he stole
Gork
it.
is peeking through the window.
No.
Speaking into a walkie-talkie.
That's the point of exclusive content, is that they pay to make it happen. And if you want to see it, you must support them, or they do not come back. And
So, what do you say to the counter argument that I always see, which is that in sports, right? There's no one person who created the sport, right? Yeah. There's no people who created wrestling. People ignore the idea of NFL and stuff, but people just immediately go to the fact that Valve created Dota, therefore they have ownership over all games that are happening.
Well, no, the sports analogy is also stupid, and these people also don't get that. They use that all the time. Do you know any fucking TV company that, you're allowed to, you could just take their shit? Listen, dumbass. That's why fucking walls and fences exist around NFL arenas. You fucking idiot. Yes, it's digital sports. That's the fucking problem. If Dota happened in a physical place, that's why they have walls! So that you can't just walk over and see it! And some guy can't be like, look, that's what they're doing over there, you fucking moron! It's a digital product, that's the problem, is that you're getting access to it without paying for anything, you fucking idiot. That's why they don't allow people with binoculars in the goddamn parking lot. Oh my God, people are so stupid. The best argument is you know what? I don't care if esports dies because I just want to watch Gork. You fucking idiot. Gork cannot stream the games if the esports dies. Then you just have to watch him lose for 12 hours a day and the content is unentertaining. You fool, you're killing the only thing that you enjoy.
I don't think people will even give a shit about pubs, high-level pubs that he plays in if esports doesn't, if Dota as an esport doesn't exist.
Of course.
Pubs will be dead. That always got me when it was such an NA Dota thing, but players would always flame casters and analysts. It's these analysts, I don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Why don't they just talk about the game? Why don't they talk about pro matches? It's because, dude, if it's not entertaining, nobody watches, and then there aren't pros. This shit doesn't work without orgs, without pros, without the casters, without the analysts. You need everything to make it work.
Sure. Here's another argument. People say, why do they have to spend so much on production? And why do the prize pools have to be so big? I just want to watch some pro Dota players playing Dota, and that's what I care about. Well, that's also stupid, because you want to know why Dota is good? is because people can make enough money to dedicate 18 hours a day playing Dota, and there's other people doing that, so they must always be good. I challenge anyone who likes this argument to go back and watch a game from TI3. I have to do it every year because I make content for TI. It's fucking awful. The players are all... I could have won TI3. They are fucking awful. And you know what makes players good? When there's insane competition, when there's millions of dollars, when there's an active scene so that they can keep practicing. If you only had TI, you took out every other TO, it would be fucking bad Dota. If you want Dota to be good, if you want to learn how to play your stupid pubs, then you must buy a ticket, okay?
One of the things I always go back to is, you know the old Dota 1 Merlini clip where he's Zeus? And he manages to kill people by playing underneath his tower and cutting through trees and stuff. Like, that play was not that interesting. I remember watching that at TI2, going back and watching that and going like, that actually wasn't that good. But at the time when it came out in Dota 1 times, it was the godliest thing that people had ever seen. And I also saw it and thought it was the godliest thing. Every single, like, basically that progression of Dota 1 to Dota 2, Dota 2 from like TI 1 to TI 3 was a big jump, and then TI 3 to like TI 5 is another big jump, and then TI 5 like pretty much since TI 6 7 like we've had like incredibly high tier Dota.
Imagine like how pathetic the first computer is. You have to put in like actual physical cards into it, and it can literally just do like addition, like multiplication is too complicated for this thing. Fucking pathetic. You can literally look up any piece of information you want that has ever existed since the beginning of human history instantly on your phone anywhere. We're in Ukraine right now. I can look it up on my phone right now.
Yep.
In my pocket. I don't live here. I live 14,000 kilometers away from here. Mm-hmm. But we can still do it. Like that's insane. That's just how fast things change. And man, I had to, I think it was like TI2 or TI1. It was TI2 because I don't think there even exist clips from TI1. It's so fucking long ago. All the clips are gone, deleted, and rotted. The games don't exist in Dota. They definitely don't. So I found some clip of like TI2, TI3, whatever, and by God, man, they would wipe the entire enemy team and just go farm their jungle every single fucking time. And it's like random fights. Just for no apparent reason. It's like, oh, there's a fight starting. I'm gonna go to it. It's like, dog, you're an anti-mage. You don't have a battle fury. What are you doing? People didn't creep cut? That wasn't a thing. Yeah. Dude, pulling wasn't a thing at a point. People didn't know how to pull.
Yep.
Like, Jesus.
And
shit, Dota 1, there was a time jungling
there wasn't jungling.
Nobody knew.
Why were there jungle creeps if there was no jungling? I'm confused.
I don't really know what to do with this.
Huh. Well, yeah, but the point is that like these tournaments, not only TI, are things that make the Dota itself better. And that's the thing with Dota is it's this unsolvable game. It's not like Counter-Strike where you know exactly the best thing to do. It's just, do you have the physical prowess to do it? Are you the quickest guy that can land the headshot? Like Twitch gamer. No, Dota is a puzzle, and it's an ever-evolving puzzle. And without proper motivation of letting these players have the practice, make the money, and have the infrastructure to get better, aka the NA Dota scene, why it sucks so much, because NA Dota players have to pay rent, whereas in Sweden, they're just like, Marty, the taxes are done, please.
Dude,
bring out my lobster dinner to my computer.
On the Dota Alchemy podcast, Alchemy Answers, I got into a big debate with my partner, Donnie, about that. His argument was, and it got pretty heated, which is good because it made good content. Like afterwards, I was like, dude, that was great because it's good when people have an actual discussion. It's entertaining. But his argument was just get good, basically. NA players. I can't even say the argument because I don't really get it. But my issue with NA Dota was it's so expensive to live in NA. And you basically have to live with your parents and be a degenerate if you want to.
There's societal pressure.
A pro, exactly, a pro in NA, and like nothing against that. I mean, parents are great, but that doesn't feel good. Like we're all told we're not supposed to do that.
Right.
We go to college at 17, 18. You're not supposed to come back. That's the idea, and maybe that's changing with especially with COVID and things like that. But that's one issue. There's a few cultural community issues that definitely have pushed away sponsors in the past. The Ritsu N-word issue, for example, with C9, that was a big issue, and pushed them away. And I'm sure they talk. I'm sure orgs talk, and I'm sure people read that in the headlines. But
when they finally came back, they sponsored the NB Stack again.
Yes,
broke up after like 2 weeks.
Always the play. Sponsor the guy who kicked 2 people after qualifying for a major.
I just want to say that I think the just one final bit on the whole competition thing. I think the easiest comparison for esports right now is just comparing it to streaming sites. Amazon Prime,
sure.
Netflix, like all of the good content that's coming out of those sites. They're great TV shows on every single one of those, right? Original content that's coming out, and that's all because of the competition that's happening between them.
Yeah, and
you don't have that competition.
You don't get to watch fucking a guy watching a Netflix show on YouTube. Turns out that they don't like that because they have real businesses.
The reason why I think Valve needs to step in is because you have this weird issue. Did you guys follow like the H3 lawsuit, H3 Productions, like the whole FUPA lawsuit thing?
Ew, a little bit.
Where basically they spent a lot of money and then it's now like officially in case law that you can react to things on a video, and as long as it's like parody, basically I don't think it's fair use. I think it would just be considered case law, but you can basically react to things and it's considered your own content. And so that's where it gets really strange. And from what I've heard though, when you're arguing fair use, that's a defense. That's not, you don't have the right to use things. It's that if you actually get like DMCA'd for something, you can go to court and defend it with fair use. But that doesn't mean that you can't be DMCA'd. But with Dota, the tournaments, like the in-game spectating is too good almost.
Right.
That's the problem. It's like if you were to just restream the tournament, I think you could very easily just DMCA that. And then I don't think Gork is going to go to court and fight fair use with a lawyer. But in game, it's like if you're just watching player perspectives, it's like who owns that? The player, Valve, the tournament organizer. It's a weird question. And I agree for like the future of the scene. I think it's best if it's the tournament, but it's just a weird argument from like a philosophical standpoint, I suppose. Like who owns that content? Is that content even?
And the original intentions with Valve are, of course, very good. That anyone should have access to games so that, if they're not hiring me because I'm a streamer that the community really loves, but I'm kind of racy, I can cast this on my own, and I can grow my own brand, and I can make a living and sustain. Those are all beautiful, wonderful intentions. But the problem is that when people that are big enough or even bigger than the tournament itself are doing that, and then the tournament is not able to sustain itself. That's not what it was made for. And don't get me wrong, I actually like Gork. I like Bulldog, and I like their grind. I like that they take advantage of this because that's their fucking prerogative. I don't particularly like the people that watch them do it because, that's like, oh, let me just steal shit. But those dudes are grinding and trying to make $1. Respect. It is 100% on Valve. There is no reason that you should be able to do that kind of shit and not have, let's say, in-game Midas Mode-esque, the sponsors are on the map. And the tournament organizer can upload their sponsors to be directly on the map kind of shit. Or they have in-game overlays that to access the replay, there should be an overlay which is provided by the tournament organizer. Or the replays happen and 30 minutes later and the gameplay is live if you're having like an event. And if Valve wants to do their original vision with the DPC, that is 100% fine. If they say, if you want a DPC event, we're going to do it with free replaying. Gork can cast it. We don't give a shit. That's okay. But tournament organizers cannot make money in the current system and thus cannot do Dota, and thus the scene will eventually die.
I think the idea of forcing overlays in the game spectating is such a good idea actually, because then if like Gork or somebody wants to stream to a bigger audience, then it's still at least showing the sponsors for
It's what every game does. Like PUBG does the same thing. You know, they have like in-game stuff, and I know most of the community will say, "Oh, you're fucking with the purity of our game. Don't do it." Well, do you want to watch it? I got Mike Tyson on my bed, and if you want to watch it, you have to wear a blue shirt. You don't have to watch it, bitch. Go play Dota. Dota's unaffected, but if you want to watch Mike Tyson and Muhammad Ali fight in my bed, you have to be wearing a thong, and that's my fucking rule. And you don't get to watch it if you don't want to follow my rules. Sorry. That's not how the real world works. You don't get to steal it.
I do like the fact that you pointed out there's a lot of misdirected hate for the people that like agree with your side of the argument, but they put the hate on Bulldog.
Yeah, that's fucking
it's
stupid.
Like they're playing by the rules.
Yeah, they're doing.
I've streamed plenty of tournaments. I did like I did a group cast where other friends, other casters and stuff would just show up and cast the games, and I'm like, I'm gonna do this.
Yeah,
right. It's like if I'm streaming, generally I'm just doing what I would do normally, except on camera and talking to people, and it's like maybe I want to watch the games. Like I would just watch the games on my own anyway. So it's like, why people watch MasterChef on stream, So I
mean, no hate to those guys. They're entitled to do whatever they want, and they're playing the game. The hate is on the system. I do not hate the player. I literally hate the game that has been established, and it has to change. But the problem is that it doesn't change without community outcry. Right now, the game is very heavily in Valve's favor. They don't give a shit if nobody makes money. They're fucking win TI. TI makes all the money. What do they care? They make $150 million as long as the game doesn't change. It's up to us to be vocal about that. And saying that you enjoy watching someone steal someone else's content, you don't give a shit if the scene dies, is not changing anything, you fuck boy. Help us.
Sometimes something has to crash and burn before it can grow.
Well, the crash and burn would definitely be if we did a DPC and we kept the same systems, because then we would have these tournament organizers supporting like the logistics and stuff of a whole shit ton of games. Let's say 70% for some reason.
Yep.
70% for some regions is just going to be games that are people just don't give a shit about.
Yeah, of
you
course.
Just straight up don't give a shit.
Comedy
But when the
casts.
hype games come around,
There you go.
the hype games come around, that's when, big streamers are going to be, because, that's going to draw viewers, and they also want to be able to, like you're saying, like they would watch it anyway, so they might as well watch it on stream. And like that's where all of a sudden you're going to be like, oh, this is supposed to be the payout for us playing 10 games, broadcasting 10 shit games. We're going to get this one good one. Well, there goes all that.
I mean, it's actually fucking insane. Selling sponsors as a man who has done it before in the world of Dota is impossible. The first thing that fucking Pepsi asked me when I tried to sell them the Midas mode is, how many viewers are you going to get? And I couldn't tell them. Because, I mean, I'm lucky because we had Midas mode not in client. That's my biggest advice to any tournament organizer. Take that shit out of the client. For the love of God. It's the only way that you'll get viewers. Yeah. But you can't tell a tournament organizer that you won't even have viewers. The most fundamental thing that they want. Oh, some guy could just come and have double. I can't stop him. Oh, really? I guess I'll go do the Overwatch League or literally any other sport, you fucking Mongols. What are you doing?
Mongoloids. Mongols are something different.
Mongols, yeah.
I'm sorry.
You made this mistake before.
I got very angry, and I could hear a word coming out of me, and I tried to change it. Into a random. Fair. You fucking Frenches!
I like how you, in order to try and be more PC, you just insulted like
you fucking Australians. Apologies. But yeah, I actually, as a person that cares about where the community is going and the sport itself, I am very passionate about this, and I know it's on the wrong side of the popular opinion. Popular opinion is let's have free things and keep Dota pure. I mean, okay.
Yeah, I mean that's just what you're just arguing. It's like a short term. It'll be free, but not for very long because the game won't be around
right.
if it stays free.
I mean, but we keep getting disproven every year, I guess. That's another negative thing. I mean, I've been saying this for 2 years. People are still investing in it for some fucking reason. I don't know why.
Well, I think that's just because as a whole, esports is growing,
I was
right?
gonna say,
so it
I was going to say
any sort of, like, plus Dota is not detracting that much in a viewership as a viewership esport. Mm-hmm. Despite the fact that the player base is going down, viewer numbers have been staying perfectly fine.
Yeah.
So I think it's more the fact that esports is growing. Companies are interested in esports. They want to get into it, and the amount of money that some of these companies throw around, right? It's like very easy to experiment in esports.
I mean,
throw around a couple $100,000,
dude,
easy.
think about if you're investing in like Dogecoin, right? And like Bitcoin and Ethereum and like all of these other cryptocurrencies are like skyrocketing, and Dogecoin is just like steady. Are you going to be happy with that? You know what I'm saying? It's like I think esports in general. I mean, look at Fall Guys. Look at Twitch streaming. Like Twitch numbers have been going up in an insane amount. The amount of money streamers are making is unfathomable.
Yep.
You've tons of new games that are all getting insane numbers, and Dota is staying the same. And I'm not complaining. Love the game, love what I do, everything. But all I'm saying is like if that's the argument, I think you have to consider that it should be growing. Like CS:GO grew. Dota's not growing.
Yeah,
why is that?
The best time to get people into watching more Dota, right?
What would happen if esports as an industry was stagnating? You think Dota would still stagnate? No fucking way.
Yeah.
There's just money being pumped into the industry.
Right.
That's where the sponsors are coming from. I think there's tons of sponsors that are saying I'm not interested in Dota. I had the same issue trying to get teams sponsored. Like the very first tier 2 team I was on, it was not that hard to get sponsors. It got harder and harder and harder and almost impossible. And I think there's just more brands getting into esports. And so there's less people that have been scarred by Dota, if that makes sense. It's
right.
Like
I mean,
they haven't experienced it yet. They're like, I'll give it a shot. Fuck this. I'm never doing this again.
Right. And that's what we actually do see a lot from like major sponsor guys. It's like, you think Mercedes is like dope. They got their meme thing and they were happy about that. You think they're going to be doing that for 4 years? ESL's the only company that actually has traditional sponsors because they're the only company that does non-Dota shit. It's like left over for them. Like, oh, well, we have Mercedes because we have 50 games and Dota's our fucking worst one. So, it's just mind-boggling. I don't know. You gotta look ahead, community, or not. I mean, again, I probably am one of the only person that is not really affected by this. Dota dies. I mean, what? I don't have like high Dota analytical knowledge. I'm not that invested in the game itself, but I still fucking care because it's the greatest game ever made. You morons.
Yeah, I don't want to.
It is. It seriously is.
Yeah.
I've never been so. I've played all the soul sucking games. Dota is the most soul sucking.
Yeah.
Like it is so addictive.
Mm-hmm.
You can play on the same patch for 2 years and still find new shit. It's crazy that that's even possible.
I know. It's just the way that it's set up. You could be a one hero player for like a year and still not be that good at him. It would take 117 years, Like there's so many heroes, there's so many things. It's the greatest game ever made. It's just, I don't know.
It is really nuts. It's like it spoils us. It's like really hard to find a replacement.
Oh, that's yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think that's why it's steady. People go play Fall Guys and then they come back to Dota.
Yeah, that's always how it's been for me. Is I've always had like a secondary game I'll put a lot of time into, and never intending to switch or anything. But it's like if I liked it more, I would. I just go to whatever game I like, and I just don't like any game more than I like Dota. Like
right.
I played Minecraft for a while, got bored of that, got to the end game in like a week. That's it. I'm done. I'm back to Dota.
Right.
I think
beat Dark Souls, beat Sekiro, beat all these games. Fall Guys. I'm sure that'll people will come back.
I think that same problem is like exponentially worse from a commentating standpoint as well, right? Or maybe like probably a professional playing standpoint as well. It's like, well, at that point in time, this is no longer like what you play as a hobby, right? This is now going like your life is more dedicated to it. Like, how do you move from to analyzing Dota or playing Dota professionally to trying to play something else? Like, I'm sure I have no doubt like the players that go from CS:GO to Valorant, there's going to be a lot of excitement at first, new game, a lot of fun, but at some point in time they're going to be like, this just isn't the same as like what it used to be when I was doing CS:GO.
You know what is also an interesting problem is just that idea, like what you were saying, of being somebody who's really invested into a game as like a career. Like where do you go with that if the game does die?
Oh yeah, like I'll be able to move on, but I don't want to move on. Fuck that.
Yeah. I
enjoy my job a lot less.
I had this conversation with Lacoste the other day, and he's just like, yeah, I don't know what I guess I'll go back and just like work. But you know what? I seriously have the opinion. I know a lot of people have this issue of like, I think you say this a lot, like sunk cost. Is that Kyle? I think maybe Kyle says that. But I think people have this issue of sunk cost, especially when it comes to Dota, because it's a game you invest like thousands upon thousands of hours into it, and you're still dog shit at it. And so basically, I think it was Kyle. But anyway, basically, I think that as long as you are spending your hours doing something that's not just mind-numbingly, autopilot, something that's really easy, you are going to be learning something that's like effective at making you a better person, if that makes sense. Like I think if you're playing Dota right, like if you're actually learning about the game, there are a lot of things that extend beyond Dota.
Sure.
Like how to, psychologically deal with toxicity, toxic teammates, how to communicate with people that you don't agree with and work together. And like these are all skills that are 100% tested in Dota because it is a game of extremes. It is extreme euphoria whenever you're feeling good, whenever you're winning, whenever there's a tournament on. Like Dota is fucking euphoria, but it is hell when you are having an awful game or an awful week. Like legitimately, Dota has driven me to serious crippling depression. And I say that as like somebody who's invested in the game as like an analyst, YouTube guy. But my girlfriend is the same as a Dota player, and she's not invested. It's just her favorite game. It just has that effect on people because it's both extremes. But with that being said, all I'm saying is that I feel like it's overhyped, this idea that if you are spending time playing video games, especially Dota, it's useless time spent. Like I don't think that's true. I think if it's useless time spent, that's your problem. That's your fault. That you're not learning things from it. Yeah. That's you sucking.
Quit playing Dragon Knight mid every day for 8 hours a day.
Exactly. Well,
hey, that can learn something real.
that can test your discipline.
That is
true. How bored can you be without blowing your brains out?
Well, I think that a lot of people are kind of understanding that like games have a lot of great neurologic effects, and then it's also pretty good social effects too. I remember back in the day when our parents used to say, like, get off those video games and go read a book. Reading a book. Can you imagine a stupider fucking thing to do with your time? No communication, no use of technology, no gaining anything. I'm just going to read a magical story. Fuck off.
Bad for your eyes, too. Look at those little words.
It's 2020. We don't need any imagination anymore. We have like 10 different things that are gaining our attention. I don't have time to dream and imagine, you fucking moron. I need to know how to multitask.
Yeah.
Okay?
No, I agree.
Go back to 1800s, plow your field, and read your books.
Yeah. I'm with you there. Really help him build my point here. That's good.
Thank you.
This is exactly what the previous generations tried to warn us about. That our brains would be so rotted that we wouldn't have appreciation for books.
Books
Those
are
gamers are all going to become book burners in the future. You'll see.
Book burners.
Books are worthless media, dude.
Books are boring.
They're fucking worthless media.
Do you really think books are worthless?
Worthless. The only thing books are good for is teaching you how to imagine, but imagination is dead.
Isn't there like a specific part of the brain that's tied to like written language?
Yeah.
And isn't that like really important?
It wasn't the appendix.
Shitty part of the
appendix
brain.
did something too, didn't it?
Okay,
We'll get
all
rid of
right.
that shit.
I see. I got you. Okay.
I'm just saying, like, yes, books and shit is good for like creative, helping you to come up with imagination and look at things vividly and stuff. But honestly, what's the use of that?
But you know what? So is experience, though.
Yeah.
Like, I was just watching, the South Park episode of Kanye West, the fish sticks?
Fish sticks, yeah.
Yeah. I was watching one of the writers, and they said that the way that they came up with that is that the South Park, I don't know which one it was. What is it, Matt and Trey? One of them brought all the writers out to a salmon ladder, which is a thing where the salmon just swim up.
Yeah.
And they literally, that's it. That's all they were just watching that and just talking and just fucking around and joking. And through that, they had the conversation of like, what if one of the salmon was like dressed up like Evil Knievel? And then it got from there to the fish sticks thing, and then they came up with the episode from a salmon ladder.
That's crazy.
And that's so if you're talking imagination, I do agree with you in the sense that like I think there are other ways to engage that part of yourself, if that makes sense. And I almost feel like experiences, man, is there anything more like paradigm shifting for you than having some like crazy experience? I feel like reading a book, maybe I'm just not a book person, but I feel like reading a book can't replace going to a salmon ladder.
It's true.
Some like crazy experience.
I mean, you could read someone's dope ass ideas, I guess, and make you think about them, or you could watch a movie about it.
This is a terrible. Yeah, you know what?
You guys are killing me right
I'm
now.
I'm
Go ahead,
slow-
Cap, I wanna hear.
I'm slowly realizing that like my argument for people playing video games is like the exact argument you would use for people reading books. So I feel like I have to support books if I want to support video
I was about to
games.
say, it's funny because your whole argument about like if you don't
Like
get anything
escapism
if you
and such.
don't get anything out of your video game playing, that's a you
Oh, no!
problem.
Oh, no!
That's exactly what it is for books. It's exactly about what you are consuming and what you are actually putting in and getting out of it.
Yeah, Slacks.
That'll determine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Idiot.
What are you getting out of it? Why would you read a book? Why would you read a book instead of listening to an audiobook?
Developing more critical
that's,
thinking
that's what you're
skills,
saying. That's what you're saying.
more-
So you're down with audiobooks.
Oh yeah.
Okay, all I do is audiobooks. So I feel I'm cool with this idea.
I just don't like to read. It's a waste of
So
time.
it's like
This is the first time that I've heard
Okay, so it's like
somebody's argument against books is literally
Like the physical process.
manifestation of ink on paper.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just it's irrelevant. Save the trees.
Well,
that
dude,
was my argument.
now I feel like a fucking idiot for like you wrote me into this. I'm sitting here thinking like, dude,
Jenkins, you dumbass.
I'm like,
Jenkins, what? You don't like books? I'm
like,
just
listen,
talking about physical books.
this
Jenkins
dude,
hates
this
knowledge.
this guy has
Shit.
like a neuroscience degree. So I'm like, there's got to be something behind this. Like, he's got to be right, man. And he's just like, no, I literally want to save the fucking trees. Like, are you
It's just the
serious?
trees.
The physical process of reading books with your eyes is a problem for you.
Yeah. You got-
Come on!
You're wasting ink. You're
Bro.
wasting trees.
God damn it! Delete that part for
No,
fuck's sake,
Jenkins, that's being held up.
man.
What's your last name?
I don't know.
You don't know anymore?
I don't remember.
Nah, I didn't mean any of that stuff. I just like making crazy arguments and seeing how long I can keep up with them.
God damn.
just-
Books are fucking stupid and don't
I'm
teach
just
you
sitting
anything.
here between
Books are
two
for
white
fucking
males
morons,
talking
dude.
about book burning. I'm just like, this is the place I don't want to be. I need to stop this podcast real quick. Where's the emergency brake?
Don't do that again. Don't do that again to me. That's the last time. I'm sick of your fucking gaslighting, Slack. Every single day with you is hell
All right.
in my
All right.
mind.
it's time to close out the
Aw.
podcast. I had one more thing I wanted to ask. So, seriously, who came up with the meat banana?
You
Jenkins.
seriously
Jenkins
are
100%.
a gaslighting.
Literally, go back in the VOD and look at it. And Jenkins says
Did
meat
you
banana.
watch the VOD?
I watched the VOD.
I watched the VOD as well, and I was awake during the cast. you want to gaslight
We
me?
don't have to go this far.
Let's talk about that.
You win. You win.
Brian.
Oh, you win. You win.
God damn.
So you came up with the meat banana, huh?
Listen, okay.
You're fucking disgusting.
If it was me, which it wasn't, but if it
I watched
was,
the VOD.
when I was laughing at him saying that, I was legitimately thinking about a banana peel with like raw meat in it.
That's
like,
why he said it. He made
No,
it
no,
up.
no, 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 no.
That's why.
See, that's the
I
problem.
wasn't thinking about
That's the
anything
problem.
like that.
Is I want to say this to help you, and then you're like, oh, it was him. It was him. I was not anything. Nothing is. I'm asexual. Okay, I don't. I'm not even. Seriously,
asexual defense.
ask my girlfriend. It's
Okay.
a serious problem. The doctor tells me it's normal. There's drugs I can take, but it's okay. That's part of who I am.
Yeah.
When I think of a meat banana, I'm literally thinking of a banana peel filled with minced beef. Not cooked, because it's grosser if it's uncooked.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's why you said it.
Fuck you. don't do this to me. I'm believing it. You're making me believe this. This is fucked up.
I would never have a thought like that because I am very sexual. And when someone says meat banana, I think of a gigantic penis. So why would I say that on a cast?
No.
You're an innocent. You did it, and you didn't mean to say meat banana.
Do you see what's happening here?
Jesus Christ, Lex, you're fucking evil.
Do you see what's happening here?
You use a neuroscience degree for fucking awful things.
He talks about writing down people's psychological notes and manipulating them and writing down their traits. Like, he's realized.
Not my notebook. Not my little notebook.
He's realized, he's like, dude, this Jenkins fucking idiot will believe anything I say. I'm gonna say something vulgar and disgusting and very sexual and make him think he said it. I would never.
There's very easy evidence. Just go watch the fucking VOD.
And do you know what the problem is? I did bring up the serial killer thing, the Banana Slam Jam serial killer thing, which I think is much worse than Meat Banana. And yet this Meat Banana thing's the real problem.
There's actually no problem. Nobody had any issue with it. The backstory of this is that production asked us to no longer mention something as foul as a meat banana. That's the part of the story you all have been quite confused about. What the fuck's going on?
Yeah, you know how rare that is? By the way, people seem to have this idea that, like, especially Shanghai Major, oh, you could see the talent. They're really scared of losing their jobs. I bet productions talk to them. They're probably scared of Valve. Yeah. People go on panel and stuff. Oh, they were laughing so much before, but it got a little out of control. Now you could see they're trying to talk and be professional. That's probably because their bosses talk to them. I've only actually twice in my life have I ever had somebody from production or a higher up position talk to one of the talent about the job that they're doing.
That's not
and you
good.
guys are one of them.
That's not good.
This is like I've had several combos just in this event.
It's been a few times now.
Oh, goodness.
It's been a few times.
Oh, gracious.
Oh, man. No dad. Gotta stop with the dad jokes. No more meat bananas. Stop saying Brian's a serial killer.
Yeah.
It just comes out.
That's the sign of a good producer, though. They're actually watching. Most producers are just not watching.
That's true.
You know
They'll
what?
only say something if Reddit says something. Right.
In my defense, or your defense, I don't know who it was.
Well,
because
you did say my first.
Because I'm an honest person, and I'm going to say I actually don't remember, and I'm letting the gaslighting. I'm a very easily gaslightable
That just means you
individual.
lied about listening to the broadcast.
No, I never said that I listened to it.
You did say you listened to
Did
the
I?
broadcast.
No, he didn't.
I watched the VOD as well.
He said you said
I
you
want
went
to
back
hear
and
what he
watched
has
it.
to say.
You said you went back and watched it. Slacks said I also went back and watched it.
He's saying
I
it.
knew you were lying about
I know
that,
he's
by the
lying,
way.
so I'm trying to lie to get him to be like, "Oh no, he watched it."
You shouldn't have
I've
cracked.
played a lot of Mafia, my friend. But continue. I want to hear this.
I don't remember what the fuck I was
I don't know.
saying.
I don't know.
I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. They are very good at WePlay.
Yes.
At like, if there's something slightly wrong with the mics, like they are super focused on quality stuff, which I really appreciate.
They care.
Somebody came out and they said like, you're fiddling too much with your mic, and I was like, you know what? That it's probably like a slight, like probably nobody even notices, but it's just like the potential that somebody can notice. Like they just want to make a quality product. They just want it to not have any problems, and that's why they don't usually, like you're saying, they don't usually have an issue with like what's being said, as long as it's funny and within the personality of the people. It's like what they care more about is like how do the camera angles look, how's the lighting, makeup, that sort of thing, and then they just kind of let us do what we want, which is really cool. I super appreciate that. I can't believe how well, I mean, I can believe it. It's not like a shocking thing, but they're very, very professional. I guess because it's esports, you don't think it's going to be super professional, but then it is. Things have gotten pretty.
Yep.
Pretty
And
crazy.
you can support WePlay by tuning in to Gork's stream tonight and watching it. For all their hard work, please enjoy.
Well, what's the point? He's not OG anymore, so he's not going to get interviews with OG players.
Always a wonderful thing until it affects you, huh? Yes. Let's go and cast this game with him watching Secret. Well, you want to cast my game? This is an issue.